On this Wednesday morning, we're going to begin with live coverage and breaking news out of Los Angeles. A protest over Israel's war in Gaza on the campus of UCLA may be ending in a melee. Video into us overnight, and reports from the scene are telling us this morning that in the overnight hours, pro-Israel protesters moved in on the pro-Palestinian protesters and the encampment that has been there for some time. It appears to have started with scuffles over metal railings. And as you can see from these aerial images, it quickly escalated into fighting. Now, there's no sound on these images, but you can clearly make out the two sides here, one appearing to be on the attack, the other attempting to hold them off. One thing you won't see in this video is any sign of campus police or of officers from the Los Angeles Police Department. Now, this is overnight. Let me show you now the live pictures, because that has changed. And you can see the long cordon now of police officers. This is a multi-agency operation. Los Angeles Police, Campus Police, Highway Patrol, and they have now arrived on campus. Steve Futterman has been there through the night. He's very close to the action. Police are moving Steve in his position as things change and escalate. So, Steve, just be careful yourself, but tell us what's happening. Show us around what is happening live in Los Angeles this morning.
Well, Heather, right behind me are the Highway Patrol and Los Angeles Police Department. They have moved in the last few minutes, and we don't know exactly what they plan to do. Now, overnight, the UCLA administration declared the encampment illegal. That may give the law enforcement officials reason to move in. Now, let's talk about what's been going on for the last few hours. These scuffles constantly between the two sides, and sometimes some violent scuffles. Fistfights we've seen, very nasty words being exchanged by both sides. It's been very tense here, although it has not devolved completely into total chaos, but there have been moments of chaos. Now, during the protests, the counter-protesters going back and forth, we met a young man who was trying to keep peace between the two sides.
I'm trying. What can you do? I had nothing else to do on a Tuesday night.
I saw you walking around. What is it? Just the two groups, basically? How is this?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a couple rabble-rousers. Everybody's upset. But let's...
Now, there has been some, I don't know if it's tear gas, I don't think it has been, but some sort of irritant, maybe pepper spray. I had a coughing fit a few moments ago, but right now you hear the chanting in the background. These are the pro-Palestinian protesters behind me in the encampment. They have been chanting, "We are not going anywhere." You've had the pro-Israeli protesters chanting, free the hostages. You have the pro-Palestinian protesters chanting "Free Palestine." So it's a bit of a standoff. Again, we've had the fistfights. We don't know what the police are planning to do. That's the big question right now. But the police were not here for many hours. They have finally moved in, and right now you see behind me a group of LAPD officers in riot gear with the protective face masks. They are moving in. Again, we're not sure exactly what their plan is.
Yeah, they're right behind you, Steve. We're seeing very closely the kind of, armament they have, their kind of protection. As you say, the face guards, I'm thinking I'm seeing batons there. I have a couple of questions. I want to talk, well, let's talk about police presence right now, but I have some more. There has been criticism throughout the night because this was escalating and violent, and there were no police on site, and there was no police presence. What was the thinking there, and why not?
Well, I'm not really sure. I mean, obviously, we're going to ask these questions later on, but one of the possibilities is that the fact that this did not completely go downhill. Yes, there were the fistfights, but if the police move in, would it escalate the violence? That was one concern, I believe. Again, we've not spoken to officials, but that's my guess right now. When I first arrived here, there were no police present. The security people who've been here for a while, who are not official law enforcement, who have been security here at UCLA, trying to keep the peace. They left when their situation turned into a dangerous situation. So it was pretty much a free situation, and you did have the in-your-face moments between the two sides.
So do we know they're there now, obviously, and strong presence? Have there been arrests to this hour, Steve? Do we know that?
I don't think so. Heather, what I think is going to happen if they decide to move in and break this up, there would be most likely a warning given by the authorities saying, we declare this an illegal gathering and you have X number of minutes to get out. That's what normally happens with the LAPD, but we've not heard any warning like that. But they certainly look, they look very serious right now.
They certainly do, right behind you there. And then my other question is everyone involved members? Are they members of the UCLA community? Or are they, as we've heard in some of the other campus situations, people who have come in to join the kind of protest activity? Are they outsiders? Do we know that, Steve?
Yeah, Heather, it's a mixture. I mean, from the very start, when I first got here last Thursday, when the encampment started, it was always a mixture. You do have a large percentage of students here. I'm not going to guess what the percentage is, but you also have people who are partisans. You have people who believe that Palestine should be free. They are part of the mix on the encampment side. And then you have people who believe Israel must exist, pro-Israeli supporters who are part of the mix on this counter-protest side as well. So it's definitely a mixture. It's not all students, but it certainly does involve, I think, a significant percentage of students.
Steve, I'm going to leave it with you now, but stand by and we'll be back through the morning for this live coverage. Thank you so much, Steve. And again, really appreciate that breaking information.
You,
Steve Futterman live on the campus at UCLA. And again, let's just stay with these live shots for one moment, and you can see the people who are still there. And as I mentioned, that multi-force security response, corroborating some of the things that Steve has said. The LA Times reporting that, yes, there were people who arrived, the counter-demonstrators, the pro-Israel side who arrived, tried to tear down the barricades. There were fireworks set off. At least one, according to the LA Times, went into that encampment. And then the pro-Palestinian side, according to the LA Times, Steve mentioned that pepper spray that he was choking. LA Times reporting it was, in fact, pepper spray. So here is the aerial view, which we will also watch, and the other angle from the ground, with Steve Futterman helping us with the live coverage today. According to the Vice Chancellor for UCLA, they called in law enforcement after some time, criticized, as Steve was saying, because of, quote, horrific acts of violence, which have not yet been defined exactly by the university. But this was what they said they witnessed last night, horrific acts of violence at the encampment tonight. So they called in law enforcement. We will see how this progresses through the morning together.